On a gray October morning, when the leaves around Harvard Yard were turning from gold to burgundy, Aiden Walker hurried across the cobblestone path with a coffee in one hand and a stack of political philosophy readings in the other. The air carried that crisp Boston chill that hinted at winter, but the campus was alive, buzzing, as always, with the hum of ambition. Students rushed past him, balancing dreams and deadlines, and the old brick building seemed to watch it all with the wisdom of centuries. Aiden had come to Harvard hoping to find direction for his future, but he often felt like he was living on autopilot, attending lectures, writing papers, meeting expectations but never really feeling anything deeply. That changed the moment he first saw Mira Patel. She appeared in his life not like a slow sunrise but like a sudden spark, an unexpected flash of color in the middle of a gray routine. He noticed her in Widener Library, sitting at a wooden desk near a tall window where pale sunlight poured in. She was reading intensely, brow slightly furrowed, lost so completely in her thoughts that she didn't see anything else. There was quiet confidence in her posture, the kind that speaks louder than ambition. She wore a maroon scarf wrapped loosely around her neck, and her dark hair fell over her shoulder as she scribbled notes in her journal with quick, sure strokes. Aiden had seen many brilliant minds on campus, but something about her was different. She looked like she carried a world inside her, and he wanted to know its every corner. He took a seat 2 tables away, pretending to read but glancing at her every few minutes. When she finally lifted her head and their eyes met, it felt like the entire library inhaled and held its breath. She gave him a small smile, warm, polite, the kind that lingers even after it fades. Aiden smiled back, and for a moment, the restless anxiety he always felt about the future softened. From that day on, he found himself returning to the same spot in the library. Some days she was there, some days she wasn't, but every time he saw her, that same spark lit inside him. One afternoon, as he passed her table, her pen rolled off and clattered to the floor. Aiden reached it first. "Here," he said, handing it to her. "Thank you," she replied, her voice gentle, with a calm steadiness that matched her presence. "I always see you here," Aiden added, surprised at his own boldness. "Well, Widener has better lighting than my dorm," she joked. "And fewer distractions unless the pen jumps off the table again." He laughed. "I'm Aiden." "Mira," she said, the name sitting delicately on her lips. And just like that, the space between them was no longer a quiet, anonymous distance, but something with possibility. In the following weeks, they talked more, sometimes about classes, sometimes about the books she carried, and sometimes about life outside the academic bubble. Mira was a pre-law student with a passion for social justice, especially immigration reform. She had grown up in California in a close-knit Indian American family, and she carried her values with proud clarity. Aiden admired that deeply. He, on the other hand, was studying government but still unsure how he wanted to use his degree. He often felt like Harvard was a giant machine pushing everyone toward predefined paths, but Mira made him feel like he could carve his own. One cold November evening, they left the library together just as twilight settled over the yard. The lamps glowed softly, illuminating the swirling leaves around their feet. "It's beautiful here," Mira said. "It is," Aiden replied, though he wasn't looking at the trees or the buildings, he was looking at her. They walked slowly, as if neither of them wanted to reach their dorms too soon. "Tell me something real," Mira suddenly said, stopping in the middle of the path. "What do you mean?" Aiden asked, a little caught off guard. "Something you don't usually say in small talk. Something honest." He hesitated. People didn't usually ask for honesty so directly. Okay, he said softly. I'm scared I don't belong here. Everyone seems so certain about who they want to become. And I don't know yet. To his relief, Mira didn't laugh or brush it off. You're not the only one, she said. I think everyone here fakes confidence more than they admit. Including me. He raised an eyebrow playfully. You look like you were born with a 10-step life plan. She chuckled. Trust me, it's mostly improvisation. That night, something shifted between them, an invisible thread tightening, pulling their worlds closer. Their friendship grew into something deeper, though neither dared name it. They studied together in quiet corners, bought hot chocolate on chilly evenings, watched each other present in class, and exchanged secrets during late-night walks along the Charles River. Aiden learned that Mira loved classical music and sunsets. Mira learned that Aiden loved sketching and always carried a small notebook where he drew glimpses of his day. She teasingly demanded to see it, but he always dodged the request until one night when he left it on the table by accident. She flipped it open, expecting quick scribbles, but instead found detailed sketches of buildings, people, shadows, and her. Dozens of tiny portraits of her reading, laughing, talking, or just existing in moments she had never noticed. When he returned from grabbing coffee and saw her holding the notebook, his heart stopped. You drew me, she whispered, not with accusation but with something unbearably soft. Yeah, he confessed, cheeks flushing. I didn't plan to show you. It just happened. Mira closed the notebook gently. They're beautiful, she said, and those two words felt like the world opening. After that, their closeness grew with a kind of natural gravity. They didn't avoid flirting anymore, they didn't hide when their hands brushed or when their eyes lingered too long. Yet they still hadn't said the words that hovered constantly between them. Winter settled over Cambridge, coating the campus in white. Final season arrived, and stress consumed everyone, but even then, Aiden and Mira found moments for each other. They studied together in Lamont, shared ramen cups, exchanged tired smiles, and encouraged each other through the blur of deadlines. One night, after a grueling study session, they stepped outside and found that snow had begun to fall. Mira tilted her face up, letting the flakes land on her eyelashes. It feels like the world is quiet, she murmured. Aiden watched her, the falling snow reflecting in her eyes, and felt a sudden certainty settle inside him. He loved her not in a dramatic way, but in a gentle, steady way that felt like breathing. Mira, he whispered. She turned to him, cheeks pink from the cold. The campus around them was silent, wrapped in winter hush. Can I tell you something real, he said, echoing her words from that night months ago. She smiled. Always. I think I'm falling for you, Aiden said, voice trembling with sincerity. Actually, I think I already have. The snow fell softly between them, melting on their coats. Mira looked at him, really looked, and her eyes softened. I was waiting for you to say it, she whispered. Because I've been falling too. Aiden felt something bloom inside him, warm and overwhelming. He stepped closer, she didn't move away. The world faded except for her breath warming the air between them. When they kissed, it was tender, unhurried, like something that had been meant to happen for a long time. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic, it was real, grounding, perfect. From that night, they were no longer two people circling around feelings. They were something intertwined, something steady amid the chaos of university life. They spent the rest of the year learning not just from textbooks but from each other how to trust, how to communicate, how to navigate both passion and practicality. They attended lectures together, studied under the same lamp in the library where they first met, watched spring blossoms bloom again in the yard, and made memories in little cafes in Harvard Square. Of course, they had challenges. Mira worried about expectations from her family, Aiden struggled with pressure to pursue a prestigious career path he didn't want. There were days of doubt, days of stress, days when they argued or misunderstood each other. But every time, they found their way back, choosing honesty over silence, choosing love over fear. On the last day of their sophomore year, they sat on the steps of Memorial Church, watching students celebrate the start of summer. Mira leaned her head on Aiden's shoulder. "Do you ever think about the future?" she asked. "Every day," he admitted. "But less fearfully now." "Why?" "Because," he said, taking her hand, "when I think about the future now, you're in it." Mira closed her eyes and smiled. "Aiden." "Yes. I hope we never lose this," she whispered. "This feeling. This, us. We won't," he said, gently pressing a kiss to her forehead. "We'll grow. We'll learn. And we'll hold on." Years later, when they would look back on their time at Harvard, neither of them would remember the stress of exams or the weight of academic expectations as much as they would remember these moments: quiet walks under yellow leaves, shared coffees in crowded libraries, whispered confessions in the snow. They would remember falling in love not in grand gestures but in everyday moments of understanding and presence. Because the real magic of their story wasn't that it happened at one of the world's most prestigious universities. The magic was that amid ambition, pressure, and uncertainty, two people found a piece of clarity in each other, a reason to breathe easier, dream bigger, and love deeper. And in the end, love was the greatest education Harvard ever gave them.